Welcome to Crushgasm, the podcast dedicated to the highs and lows of crushes. From their first to their worst, we're going to cover them all with a cascade of characters, including our guest today, a recent UGA graduate, Aspen Anonda, an astrology-obsessed plant mom, singer-songwriter, and all-around stellar musician who is here to talk not only about her latest single, Closure, from her EP, This One Is About You, but a crush that, looking back, was a total mistake. Aspen, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Are you excited to talk about a mistake you made?
I am so excited. It's funny, I feel like I talk about them all the time on stage, but putting it down in podcast form feels a little different. It feels a little more vulnerable.
Oh, no. Well, just like, we're at, I always say, this is like a slumber party.
Oh, I think it's perfect. Yeah.
So we're going to get right to it. So your crush mistake, Ryan. He was this older guy you went to high school with, but not someone you necessarily ran in the same circles with. Was he one of those popular older kids that just everyone sort of knew about, or what was his deal?
Yeah, he was definitely popular. I mean, he played a lot of sports in high school. I wouldn't say I wasn't super popular in high school, everyone knew that I played music, so I feel like my high school was pretty small and most people knew who I was, but we didn't necessarily run in the same popular group together. I had my friends, he had his friends, I knew of him, but it took me a while to actually be introduced to him.
I get that. I went to a similar smaller kind of school, and it was you knew everybody, but it's not like you knew them.
Yes, exactly.
I get it. So fast forward to it's your sophomore year of college. You're home from school, as is he. Maybe, I don't know. Did he go to college?
Yeah, I think he went to a university for a little while, and then he was home kind of in between semesters, or took a semester off before transferring to a different school. And that's when we kind of ran back into each other.
Yeah, you guys were back home visiting on a break. How did you two wind up connecting?
So I think because my hometown is relatively small, I just started seeing him around. And then he reached out, just kind of seeing what I was doing back home. A lot of the time, I came home a lot of weekends from the University of Georgia to play different restaurant gigs and stuff. So I was home actually pretty frequently throughout college. And yeah, he just kind of reached out saying what are you doing back? I thought you went to UGA. And that's kind of when our real friendship and then relationship started.
Did he ever mention that he maybe had an eye on you back in high school?
No, it was weird. I mean, he always had a girlfriend, for sure. And it was kind of, when we did run into each other, I said, I thought you had a girlfriend. He's oh, we broke up. So that was kind of my first inkling that maybe it was something a little bit more, as we were talking about our past relationships and both of us being single.
Well, you said this crush lasted about 6 months, and I want to talk about that first half. Was this kind of your first quote unquote adult relationship, situationship you'd been a part of?
So it's crazy. I dated somebody for 4 years, and that was the relationship that had just ended. So I dated somebody from sophomore year of high school all the way up until I started my sophomore year of college. So I was fresh out of a relationship that meant a lot to me. It was really serious. It just didn't work out between the two of us. So this was maybe 4 months after that had ended. And I feel the thing with Ryan, it was lust in the beginning. It was definitely full force all at once, and then came crashing down just as quickly.
You were in this relationship for 4 years. That has to be crazy to end something that was so long and it meant so much to you, and then to go into this guy, the mistake. Were you just maybe in a rebound situation?
Oh, definitely. I think I had no idea what I was doing. I hadn't been single in so many years, and I really did truly love that first person. It didn't end poorly. I think it just ran its course. So I was kind of living in a weird state, trying to figure out what it was like to be single. I've never felt like really comfortable being single, which is something I'm trying to figure out and work on. But I do think I was trying to find somebody to like fill the space, someone to give me love and affection that I was really used to having all the time.
And looking back, you realize now that he was toxic as hell, but what sort of things was he doing in those first few months?
Oh my gosh. I think because it happened so quickly, there were a lot of feelings happening. A lot of them were coming from my end. Like I kind of fell head over heels all at once, and I kind of have a problem with romanticizing the relationships that I'm in. Like I always look for the good. I always see the best in people, and I think I ignore red flags quite often. So there was a lot of commitment things that weren't happening. I knew he was going to go to a different college in a few months in a different state. And I just ignored all of the bad signs that he was giving me that he wasn't going to commit to me. I kept saying that we were inevitable. I kept saying that we were gonna come back like over the summer, even if he went to a different college, and like we were just meant to be together. And I think it was just like my positivity getting in the way of like a more realistic situation.
I was going to say, you said you were born pretty optimistic and you have this romanticizing. Do you think that that was what played a part in just Ryan being like maybe those rose-colored tinted glasses?
Oh, 100%. And like he was really emotional and like shared a lot of things with me, and I thought that that meant that I was somebody special to him. You know, like I thought if he was sharing all these personal things with me, then I was someone special. But I think he just needed someone to lean on in a moment of being low, and I was that person. And it didn't necessarily mean that I was going to be that person for a very long time.
Yeah, because then all of a sudden Ryan was gone. He moved to South Carolina with not so much as a goodbye. Like, how and when did you find out that he had packed up and just left?
Oh my gosh, this is so funny to talk about. Like, it was around December, so like we kind of connected in October when I was home, and then around December I knew that he was going to be moving to like start playing sports at this new college and like move there. And I thought we were going to have this like big goodbye where I'd help him kind of pack all of his stuff and move. And he tried to just leave a letter in my mailbox saying that he was leaving, and I caught him. Like I saw him outside, and I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm sorry, I hate goodbyes. Like I just can't handle them. I have to go. And that was definitely that was a red flag that I saw in the moment, but was still like, oh, he just hates goodbyes. Like, of course they're really sad. I can overlook this. Of course we'll still talk once he leaves. But yeah, that was the moment that he kind of packed up and ditched.
You just graduated, so sophomore year wasn't too long ago. I mean, it's not like I'm talking to someone in their 60s where maybe a letter was the appropriate way to say goodbye. I mean, he could have like called, text, email, Snapchat, Twitter. Like, I mean, maybe you thought it was romantic too because it was an old school letter, like the Notebook.
Oh, exactly. Like the fact that he had written me a handwritten letter and was trying to drop it in my mailbox, I thought it was super romantic, and that definitely played a part in me still trying to go after this relationship and still thinking that it was something that it wasn't, which he was like a really sensitive person. Like he wrote poetry, which a lot of people didn't know since he was a big sports player in my high school. And yeah, I thought we had something like really special, but yeah, yikes.
Was it awkward when you caught him at your mailbox?
It was a little awkward. I think I was over forgiving. I was glad that I did catch him in the act, because then we were able to have like kind of a proper goodbye, but it did linger with me the fact that he was just willing to walk out and not say anything again.
Do you still have the letter?
No. I definitely got rid of it a while ago. It's crazy. Like 2 years ago doesn't seem like a long time, but I've also, only existed in this world for 22 years. So it kind of feels like a lifetime ago. This person that didn't see these red flags and didn't know the mistakes that were happening. I feel like I've grown a lot from that person.
Yeah, but because you said that, after he left, he kind of strung you along for like another few months. What type of things was he doing when there was like the distance between you that kept you kept your attention?
Right. So he never properly made me his girlfriend while everything was happening while he was home. And I understood like him going to a different school, which is why I kept thinking like when he's home for the summer, like we'll just talk kind of long distance and create this bond and then eventually date. But once he moved, I mean, we talked almost every single day, but there were just little things that he would say about like meeting new girls or like just small comments where I was like, am I important? But then he would still open up to me about all these things that he was feeling. So it was very confusing where I couldn't figure out if I should keep being there for him because I loved being there for him and I didn't know how to distance myself from it because it was really taking all of me.
Would you say you're like over caring?
It's crazy. No. So I don't think that I'm a very empathetic person, which is another thing I'm trying to learn how to be better about. I think a lot of people have a problem with being too empathetic, so they feel everybody and like humanity's feelings, and it weighs a lot on them. But I feel like I detach myself relatively well, which is why this relationship was so crazy. And my mom was the one to see it. She was like, I don't understand how he has this effect on you. You've never been like this before. Like, I kind of turned into a different person. I do like to help people. I like to take people from one spot that they're in to where they're trying to go. And I think that's like the business and logical side of my brain. But this also did encompass like a lot of the emotional side.
So you said your mom kind of pointed it out. Was that the moment it clicked in your head that this has got to end?
No, I mean, it should have been. I don't think she definitely didn't like him from the beginning. He's not, like, personality-wise, not the type of person that I would normally go for, like a little bit more reserved, like definitely quiet, a little bit more awkward. And I normally go for like the very charismatic, outgoing type of guy. And I think she knew the whole time that he wasn't necessarily right for me, but she wanted to give me the space to kind of figure that out on my own and make those my own decisions based on the relationship. But she was definitely happy when I figured out how to cut myself loose from this.
Well, mothers always know best.
They do.
They always do. In hindsight, would you have even started messing around with him at all? Or would you have maybe ended it like when he left and been like, all right, you're going back to school. This is it. Maybe talk to him a little bit. But once he started like mentioning the other girls, been like, all right, Ryan, bye.
Yeah, I wish I had enough hindsight to know that once he moved, like, that was it. I mean, I do think we had, like, something really beautiful while he was home. And I don't regret getting to know him. I don't regret, like, sharing really intimate moments with him. I feel like we both helped each other grow as a person. And he definitely helped me figure out the type of things that I should stand for in a relationship. I feel like my standards are higher and I have a lot more self-respect. So I don't regret that. But I do think it would have been nice if I could have just let him go. I think I held on so hard and he didn't know how to tell me to let go. So I just kept being there for him, even if he didn't necessarily need or want it. Yeah, I think it would have been better if I let him move. I moved on with my life, and yeah, that would have probably saved a lot of heartache.
How did it come to an end? Was it like a phone call? Did you write him a letter and leave it in his mailbox?
So I am so dramatic. I mean, I love movies. I love being over the top all the time. So I sent him like a bit of a care package. So he came to one of my like sorority date night things before he moved. So I had a t-shirt from that event, and then I wrote him a letter and I sent it to his place, and I never heard anything back. I mean, he didn't reach out afterwards. We haven't spoken since, and I think it was very clear to me that it was over by then.
Ryan, oh my
I know.
God. Okay. Oh my God. About 2 years later, nothing?
Nothing. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I talk about this because I wrote Closure about him, which
we'll definitely want
to. Yeah. But I talk about his sister in the song, and we're actually still like really pretty good friends, and we actually got closer after everything ended with him. And she's wonderful and beautiful, so I hear small things about his life, and I think he's in a relationship and happy, and I think I was a placeholder for him in the same way that he was a placeholder for me, but I just definitely got more emotionally attached than he did.
Right, before we get to Closure, I want to know, you said that you've gained more self-respect, you have higher standards, you're learning to be, better just with relationships and learning to be single, and you're more empathetic. Is there any other lessons this crush mistake, maybe a point that you learned that you can apply in your life moving forward?
I think you really just have to know what you want and not lose yourself in somebody else. So I definitely had a pattern of, there's like a trend going around that you're the main character, like the main character of your life, and you like dress like the main character. And I feel like sometimes when I enter relationships, I become the girlfriend character, and I leave my life behind, and I forget about all my responsibilities, and I just want to like be this girlfriend, and that's such a crazy thing to do. So I think I've figured out how to have a stronger sense of self and still be able to love and care for somebody else. Like, you don't have to give up who you are just because you care for someone else. And that's definitely something that I learned from this crush mistake.
Good. Casting yourself in the lead role in your life, very important.
Right. It's your own movie. Like, everybody's running their own movie, and you can allow what characters come in and what characters leave based on like your mental health and what you need in your life.
It's also a form of self-care, which is very big. So usually I ask people how they would envision their lives with their crush, but this is the second time I'm going to say we're just going to skip that and just you be good. Ryan has his life, and we're going to talk about Closure, because you did say, I was like listening to it, I got your answers, and I listened and I was like, okay, I hope this is about him. I hope this didn't happen again.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So it kind of captures this fear I have, not like running into necessarily like an ex's mom or their sister, but just like anybody from my hometown when I go home to visit. So when you ran into Ryan's mom and later his sister, did you have a moment where you thought, oh, I should just like run away and hide and maybe they didn't see me?
Oh my gosh, 110%. So everything ended after he went to college. March was around the time that I sent the package. I started a new relationship a few months later that was really beautiful, and sometime in late summer, maybe August, before I went back to school, I saw his mom at our local Aldi because I was home for the summer with my mom, and she always takes me grocery shopping, so she's not alone, and we're best friends. And I legitimately, I thought I had fully processed what had happened. I thought I was fully over it. I was loving somebody else, but still that moment of seeing her, my whole body got hot. And I was like, I'm sorry, I can't exist in this Aldi anymore. And I just left. Like, I just walked straight out. My mom got her groceries and met me in the car. And I was like, I don't think that I never got closure. I never found out why I couldn't be what he needed. I never figured out why he didn't want me the way that I wanted him, even though I did all of these things for him. So I went home and immediately, in like 30 minutes, wrote the entire song. And that was kind of when I was in touch with his sister as well. Like, she came to a couple of my shows, and she's beautiful and wonderful, and I think knows the mistakes that Ryan tends to make with girls. But she's artistic and is a videographer, and we really bonded over that. But at the same time, anytime she brought him up, my whole body just got hot, and I didn't want to hear about it. So it felt like the perfect song to write to kind of create closure for myself.
Do you still talk to his sister?
Not super often. I follow her on Instagram and like see all of her posts. I message her from time to time with a lot of love and support, but we're definitely not as close as we once were. I think I needed a full break, a full separation in order to really move on.
You said like she kind of is in the know of how her brother is, but do you think his mom knew all that went on, like the letter and the care package, everything?
Definitely not. I only met her a handful of times. So like I went over to his house and met his whole family, and we like watched something on TV, and then his sister and his mom came out to see a show of mine, and that was it was after Ryan and I had ended things, and I don't think that she knew kind of how it all ended and how it hurt me. She just knew that, like he moved schools, we weren't really in touch anymore, but I don't think that she knows how it all went down.
Yeah, moms never know how their babies are.
They want to believe the best, and I do think that Ryan's a good guy, and I think he's working through it and seems to really love the person that he's with. It just wasn't me,
I know. Isn't that the worst, though? I mean, not in hindsight, but like at the time, you're like, oh, why was
it? At the time, I was like, what does she have that I couldn't give you? Is like the big question.
Been there, done that. It sucks. Just like sitting there crying over nothing.
Over nothing, yes. Exactly. And then hindsight, you're like, there was so much better out in the world for me, just waiting for me to get over this one thing.
Mm-hmm. And while you never got the traditional closure because he never returned any type of communication, even though you sent him this nice care package, was writing this song your way of closing the book on that chapter in your life?
Oh, it was so therapeutic because even though I had this kind of like body reaction to seeing his mom, I do think I logically knew that he was not the one for me. Everything was wrong. There was a lot of toxic traits that kind of sent me down a rabbit hole of sadness, I guess. But I think writing this song really put like a period at the end of the sentence. Like there was no more chance, no more possibility. I could finally truly move on in the way that I had always wanted to. And it's nice listening to the song now, knowing how much I've grown and moved on, and it's such a minuscule kind of situationship that I was in.
Well, a minuscule little part, but it plays a big part in your EP. This one is about you. And in regards to the you, like when you write a song, do you think like, oh, they're definitely going to know this one is about them?
It's so funny. So I feel like I write a ton of songs, and some of them are really straightforward, really true. Like there's no metaphors. It's just exactly what it is. And then there are some that are, I think, as equally as good, but just kind of make-believe situations. And when I was recording the EP, I kept gravitating towards the songs that were really real and about people that were either in my life or had moved out of my life. So when I counted down the songs and figured out the ones that I for sure wanted to record, I was like, these are all true stories. These are all about people that I have known that may not be around in the same way that they were, but I feel like I just have to go for it. And I also did want people to know that they were true and vulnerable and straightforward. So calling it This One Is About You, I was a little worried about who might reach out.
Yeah, you said you gravitated towards the songs that were more true and honest. Is like, do you ever think like, oh, like get a little scared about being that open about your life in music form?
It's crazy. I think I find it more difficult to just talk to people about what I'm going through, but I feel like when I write music, I know that it's something that someone else has gone through, because I find that the most specific words or the most specific songs are the ones that people resonate with the most. So there's something really beautiful about putting out vulnerable songs that I know other people are going to resonate with. And like the truth is, nobody reached out. I didn't have any guys come out of the woodworks the way that I thought they maybe would to ask if these songs were about them. And I don't know if they even listen to them, or if they know that they're about them, or wonder but don't want to ask. I don't know. I find a lot of comfort in writing songs that I know are true and therefore will probably resonate with other people.
I get that. I think I am so much better at the written word than I am speaking about my feelings. I have been since I was little. I kept my little diary. And that's like something that your music reminded me of. It was like jumping into someone's journal, and locking it with that little key that those rinky-dink kid diaries have.
Yeah, I am a huge journaler. I write in my journal about absolutely everything that I've ever done.
Yeah. Have you, is that kind of what started you in songwriting?
Yeah, I think so. I've always loved creative writing. I was never great at like poetry or different types of writing, but I did it from like a really young age. So I think when I started playing guitar at like 9 years old, I knew that I wanted to write songs. So that's where a lot of it has come through. But I find myself when I'm writing about what I'm feeling. I got really into journaling in high school for sure, like try to do it every day and all throughout college. And I'll find myself writing about what I'm feeling, and then the problem somehow works itself out. And then I'm looking at it later and I'm like, this is a song that I need to write. Like I couldn't write it when I was in the middle of that feeling, but I know that it's something that could work. And it's cool to be able to like tap into past feelings, just being able to read them.
Yeah, you like to look back. I wish I had a lot of my journals from maybe not. I wouldn't want to see the high school. They'd be like too angsty. I was like the stereotypical like emo kid, just like thinking my life was way worse than it was.
Oh, of course. Drama. That was me in 8th grade. Way too much eyeliner, only wore black. Like that was, everyone has that phase.
Yeah, it's a beautiful phase. I think someone did an emo crush and we were just like vibing about being angsty. It's embarrassing to think of, but I'm grateful to have it. You said Ryan was the sports guy and everyone kind of knew you as the music person. You picked up the guitar at 9. What made you get into music in the first place? Was it like a singer, an album, a music video?
So my grandma did theater all through college and then pursued it for a little while. So when I was in elementary school, I did a lot of different like plays and musical theater, and it was very clear that I loved being on stage. I loved people looking at me while I did a show. Like I loved the attention. And then when I was 9, my grandma tried to teach me piano, and I didn't love having to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star because I wanted to be a rock star. So I switched to guitar and started taking guitar lessons. And it all really clicked for me after that. I listened to a lot of like Jason Mraz and John Mayer and Sarah Bareilles. Like a lot
at
of these,
9?
Yeah, like a lot of these like
9-year-old
singer-songwriters. But yeah, I kind of like dove headfirst into it after that.
I love that because I grew up, I'm a lot older than you. And VH1 music was kind of that adult contemporary where you would find the Jason Mraz's, Colby Calais, but in my day it was like Sarah McLachlan and Alanis Morissette. And I was just like,
exactly.
That's what I lived for, the VH1 Top 20 countdown. Like I love Matchbox 20. I tweeted the other day, I was like, they really had me at like 13 acting like a 40-year-old divorced woman.
Right, exactly.
I loved it. I love those. I call like the Starbucks music, but it's amazing. I love it. I found it interesting. You said like you immediately knew you kind of like wanted to be a performer. You love to be on stage, and it's interesting because we were talking about being the main character. So like, how do you feel like you wanted to be the main character as like a rock star, but in relationships you kind of would cast yourself as like a side character? Ever see that correlation?
I think about this all of the time. So I think I have a lot of self-confidence. Like I always have as a kid. I think finding something that you're really passionate about at a really young age just kind of sets you on a path to be confident. It's something that I knew I loved. I knew that I was good at it based on other people's reactions to me playing and singing. But I think I don't love when other people could disrupt what I have going on. So I've found that, I don't know, it's easier when I enter a relationship for me to just go into their world. So join their friend group, kind of exist in their house and the hobbies that they like to do, versus having someone that could come in and disrupt like my main character life that I created for myself. I think it's like a sort of wall that I've built up to kind of protect the life that I've created and it feels easier to leave my life and just join somebody else's for as long as that relationship may last, or for the weekends that I'm with them, versus having somebody that could come into my life and alter it in some way or make it feel a little bit more unsafe. I think it's like a vulnerability thing that I don't love, letting that kind of wall down.
Well, now that you're learning to kind of be the main character in your own story, how do you think that's going to impact your music moving forward, like your songwriting?
Oh my gosh. I think it's going to be really helpful. I mean, I'll definitely feel a lot of feelings deeper than I have. And I think breaking down any wall is going to be helpful to create, no matter what you're creating. So as I watch myself become more vulnerable with people, it definitely starts showing through my songwriting more recently.
Yeah, right now you have This One Is About You out now, but are you working on anything for a follow-up coming up?
I am, yeah. I think I'm gonna take it really slow. So I have some songs that I really love that actually are a lot more vulnerable and less about relationships and more about kind of personal growth and kind of what I've been trying to figure out about myself. And I went to the studio for a few days, kind of started tracking those. I'm gonna take the process as slow as it needs to go. I'm not in any rush to put out the next project, but it's definitely kind of coming together in a way that I really love.
You also have some shows coming up in October and November. Are you working on adding any more to the calendar?
I would love to add some more to the calendar. I mean, I think a lot of the places that I play are like restaurants and wineries and breweries. We have some cool things like October 9th, I'm playing at the Wire and Wood Festival in Alpharetta, and I'm definitely trying to get more of those kind of like singer-songwriter either like rooms and venues or festivals for this fall.
Awesome. Well, Aspen, can you tell people where they can find you online?
Yes, definitely. So everything is Aspen Anonda, so aspenanonda.com, and Instagram and Facebook.
All right, Aspen. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about your crush mistake today. And everyone, you can find all of Aspen's information below. And until next time, keep crushing it.